Ever seen a man eat plain rice like he's hiding a secret? Like every bite is a dare? Like love is sitting 2 tables away, taking notes? They tried to sell the only woman who fed me to a 60-year-old stranger, and when I showed up to stop it, the police saluted me. If it were you, would you have kept the mask on or ripped it off right there in the street? My name is Henry Williams, but in that neighborhood, I was just the new guy at Gideon's auto grease on my hands. Cheap boots, a face. People stopped seeing after the second glance the kind of man who counts coins by touch and learns which days the rice is cheaper. And yeah, I let them think that, because I was looking for something money can't buy, and you don't find it when everyone knows how much you're worth. The restaurant down the block wasn't pretty, the windows fogged. The paint faded, the menu written in marker that bled when the air got humid. But the food was hot and honest, and the room smelled like steam and pepper, and a dozen hard days. Ending at once, Aunt Patty ran it like a drill sergeant with a wooden spoon. Ruth hovered near the register, counting tips that weren't hers yet. And in the middle of it all moved Belinda, quick, with her hands soft, with her voice watching everything, without trying to be seen. First day, I ordered plain rice, no meat, said it casual like preference. Second day, the same third day, she came to my table and asked the question kind people ask when they already know the answer. Why do you always order without meat? I looked at my plate, held the silence a second, and said the truth. I don't have money for meat, no drama, no poor me, just the fact laid down like a wrench on concrete. The next afternoon, she set the plate in front of me, leaned in and whispered, "Don't tell anyone," like we were kids in church, passing gum, a small piece of meat, tucked under the rice where the world wouldn't notice. I stared at it, then at her, then at the part of myself that remembered what being seen felt like. I took a bite and I swear I tasted more than food. I tasted a door opening, so I kept coming back. And she kept slipping kindness under the radar. Don't tell anyone, she'd say, and then hurry off before Aunt Patty could count the pieces on a plate that wasn't hers to count. At the shop, I was learning to listen to the engines, to the old guys who swear by tricks they won't write down, to the way metal talks back when you finally understand it. And at lunch, I was learning to watch the way a person chooses to love when it costs them something. Belinda wasn't loud about it. She just did the right thing and moved on, you know what I mean? Pattern interrupted didn't last. Ruth walked in on her one afternoon, eyes sharp, smile, already rehearsing the performance she wanted Mommy come and see. She yelled, and whatever was left of peace jumped out the back door. Aunt Patty stormed through that kitchen like a siren, then right into the street, then straight into the shop where I was under a hood, minding my own life. She dragged Belinda behind her like evidence the whole place went quiet, except for a socket rolling somewhere stupid. Aunt Patty threw a dirty rag at my boots. "You are using her to steal from me," she shouted. I said, "I never asked for anything." Which was true, she didn't care. "If I see you near my restaurant again, if I hear you talked to Belinda, I will make sure you rot in jail." That's how she said it, like jail was a purse she could pull open. Do you think that's fair? Say it out loud. Do you think that's fair? I didn't argue sometimes. You don't pour gas on a fire that isn't yours. She snatched Belinda away, and the room settled back into the small sounds people make when they're pretending nothing happened that night. At her house, they beat Belinda, I learned later. Not because she told me she kept pain like a private thing, but because the next day her wrist bloomed purple where a hand had been, and her smile couldn't cover the wince. We didn't speak for a week, then I saw her at closing out, back by the wooden bench where I go to breathe. "When the day sits too heavy," she said. She missed me like it cost her to admit. I told her I loved her, like a man who had decided the truth was the only tool he trusted. She held my hands and said, "Not yet. Stand on your own feet. First, finish learning. Get your own shop, then talk to me about forever." It wasn't a no, it was a map. I said yes, yes to work, yes to time, yes to earning what you ask for. Then my phone rang. Landlord, 3 days pay or you're out. Belinda's face fell, not like pity, more like worry. Trying to hold me up, I told her I'd borrow from a friend. She nodded. I pray it gets better and went home to a house built on fear and small power. That night she made a choice, a small one, a desperate one, my rent and folded bills on her uncle's table, take a little return. It tomorrow no one will notice, but people like that always notice, especially if your hands touch what they pretend belongs to them more than you do. Morning, she pressed money into my palm like it was a bird she rescued. For your rent, take it. I asked where it came from. She looked away and told me I pushed it back. Belinda, I can't take what isn't yours. I did it for you, she whispered, the kind of sentence that breaks your heart and puts it back together in the same beat. Return it quietly before they notice, I said. She nodded, cheeks hot, like shame and love met in the same place. They noticed. Of course they noticed. They tore through her room, found the money, hit her, locked her in, set a date like a trap, snapping shut. 3 days, she marries Mr. Morgan, an old man with a cold house and a worse reputation. If it were you, what would you have done? The second night I slid to her window like the thief. I wasn't tapped the bars, and whispered her name. The crying stopped. The window scraped open. There she was, eyes swollen, voice level. They're forcing me to marry him, when tomorrow I wanted to break the bars with my hands and run. But you can't outrun a system when you're nobody on paper, and to them, that's exactly who I was, so I did the thing that felt like swallowing fire. I told the truth I'd been hiding. You will not marry him, how she asked. You don't have money, you don't have power. What can you do? I know people, I said, and left before anyone else knew I'd been there at all. Morning came with a quiet car, deep paint chrome that caught the light, and threw it back like a promise. I stepped out in a suit I hadn't worn in months, shoes that say, you know where the good doors are. Belinda's uncle squinted over his tea. Aunt Patty and Ruth stopped in the doorway, like a play, paused mid-scene. I am here to marry Belinda, I said. Direct, no speech, no sugar. They laughed, the kind of laugh people use to keep control of a room that is slipping. You borrowed that car, the uncle said. You're a mechanic. Nothing more. He called the police like a man whistling for a dog. He thinks knows his voice. The van rolled in, 4 officers stepped out, and the air did that thing where it changes in your chest. They saw me, really saw me, backs straightened, like strings pulled them tall. Good morning, sir, they said, saluting before anyone told them not to. Ruth's hand flew to her mouth. Aunt Patty started doing math. She couldn't solve the uncle's color, went from hard to hollow. Is there a problem? The officer asked me. No problem, I said, and I won't pretend it didn't feel good. Power in the service of something, right, you know. The uncle dropped to his knee, fast as a coin falling, segun, promising to cancel Mr. Morgan calling me son, like a word could rebuild a bridge he burned. Do it, I said, and walked away, because I still had another fight waiting, where people know my name and think that means they get to decide my life. Home is complicated. My mother looked at me and saw a headline she didn't want. An orphan from nowhere. No school, no class over my dead body, she said, forgetting or pretending to where she herself started. My father asked her gently if she remembered the shoes she wore when he met her. The fear in her voice, ordering coffee in a room that made her feel small. Don't rewrite history to fit your outfit, he said. Not cruel, just accurate, she snapped back. Love doesn't pay bills, no, he said. But it pays for a life worth the bills, yeah. That happened, I told them. I was marrying Belinda with or without a blessing. My father put a hand on my shoulder and said, he had my back. The ground steadied under my feet. 2 days later, we drove to bring Belinda home. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. We knocked, and the uncle opened the door with a face like bad news, rehearsed it. "Belinda is dead," he said, "died last night. Buried this morning." Our tradition, the room tilted. The word dead rang false in the air. I called her phone, nothing. Not off, just gone, my father stepped forward. If she died last night, why not call? Why bury before sunrise? What are you hiding? And then the uncle said the sentence that told the truth. But you can marry Ruth. She's educated, beautiful, better for your family. Heat crawled up my spine. If I don't see Belinda by tomorrow, I said, you will regret knowing me too far or not far enough, you tell me. We left. I called the inspector. I've known since I was a kid in his yard trying to throw a ball straight. I told him everything he said. He was on his way. The squad hit their compound fast. Empty neighbors said Aunt Patty packed bags and peeled out, like fear had its hand on the wheel. A security guard a few streets over mentioned men carrying a struggling girl into an unfinished building by the highway. We went without sirens, engines, quiet. The building rose out of the brush like a bad tooth. Two men at the door smoking and speaking like evil was just another shift to get through. They didn't finish that cigarette. Wrists, cuffed faces in the dirt. Inside the air was wet and old, and in the corner a chair ropes a girl whose head hung like sleep forgot how to be kind. "Belinda," I said, and my voice cracked on the name. Her eyes fluttered open, slow, like it cost her to find us, Lise, she whispered. A word that will ring in my chest for the rest of my days. They cut her loose. She fell forward into the inspector's arms. "You're safe now," he said. And in that moment, I believed him. One kidnapper cracked first. Her uncle paid us, he said she didn't deserve to marry into money, while his own daughter had nothing, said. Make it look like she ran away, or... He didn't finish. He didn't have to. The inspector's face did not change, just the room. Did he put out word to every station, and within hours someone spotted Aunt Patty Ruth and the uncle at the bus park, bags zipped, eyes wide. The arrest was quick, a shout, a stumble, metal on wrists, 100 strangers watching justice put its boots on. At the station, the files stacked up like a long answer to a question the city had been asking for years, documents showing how the uncle stole Belinda's parents' property after a crash that was never just a crash. Witnesses remembering where he drank that night and what he bragged about when he thought no one decent was listening. Weeks later, we stood in court. Belinda's hand warm in mine, my parents behind us. The judge read the charges like a checklist of everything a person can do to destroy family, murder, attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy, theft. Then he looked at Belinda and said, "A number that doesn't bring back anything, but at least takes away the thing that tried to take you 170 years, no parole." The room gasped. The uncle sagged. Aunt Patty cried for herself, not for the girl she hurt. Justice doesn't taste sweet. It tastes like air. You didn't realize you were rationing, like sleep that finally stays through the night. We went home to a different kind of quiet. My mother stood, walked over and sat beside me like she did when I had a fever as a kid. "I was wrong," she said, voice thin, like pride finally let go. She apologized to me, to Belinda, to the truth she'd been trying to outrun by dressing it in different clothes. And there's a moment when someone powerful chooses to be small enough to say sorry. It changes the room itself. I forgave her. Not because I'm a saint, but because I saw the man I could become if I didn't. My father smiled in that quiet way that says storms go, and new weather can be kinder. Belinda healed slow and stubborn. The body first, then the parts of her that expected doors to slam. We planned a wedding. Not for show, but so our vows would have witnesses who could say they heard them. The hall glowed gold, like the lights understood what we were doing. I stood at the front and watched her walk toward me in a dress the color of every good morning. I never thought I'd get. The priest asked if I would love her, and I told him I already did. He asked her if she would love me, and she didn't even blink. We kissed, and the room rose up and my mother cried. The kind of tears you earn. My father clapped like a man who knows what it costs to build a life that stands. Pattern interrupt forgiveness showed up where I didn't expect it, days before the wedding, in a boutique with mirrors everywhere. Ruth walked up to Belinda and fell to her knees. "Forgive me," she said. Not dramatic this time, just emptied of all the wrong. Belinda helped her up and said, "I forgive you, not because she forgot, but because she refused to let the past boss her future. Could you have done that? I'm still learning how. And now the part some of you will cheer, and some of you will drag me for the police moved fast. Because I am who I am, the son of a man whose name means calls get answered. If I had been exactly who I pretended to be. A poor mechanic with no favor to call in, would Belinda be here? Would the case have moved? Would anyone believe a girl locked in a room when the people with keys tell a different story? Does justice need a rich friend to pick up the phone? Do you think that's fair? I didn't go undercover to play games. I did it because love had become a negotiation. I never knew if I won clean. Belinda broke that spell with a piece of meat and a whisper. Don't tell anyone, then, with something harder, a boundary that respected me and herself. Stand on your own feet. Don't ask me to marry a disguise. Bring me your real self and your real work. She didn't know who I was when she chose me, and when she found out, she didn't love me more for it. She just kept loving me, and that was the point all along. So here's where I leave it with you. What do we do about houses where belts hang on doors and girls are treated like property? What do we do about the way class can turn a life or death situation into a same-day response for some, and a cold file for others? Should a judge stack numbers until they touch the ceiling? 170 years, or is there another justice we don't know how to build yet, that scares us because it asks more than a sentence ever could? If it were you, what would you have done? Would you have revealed yourself sooner? Would you have walked away? Would you have forgiven Ruth or said no and let the past sit where it belongs? I'm a husband now, a son who learned that pride can be unlearned. A mechanic who still likes the truth of work, even if my hands don't have to be dirty to prove anything. I hold Belinda's hand in the morning in traffic in grocery store lines. And I remember how everything turned on a kindness no one was supposed to see. That's what changed the story, a small piece of meat hidden under rice. A whisper against the rules that made space for a different ending. Tell me what you think, argue with me, push back. If you need to you think justice showed up because of love or because of money? Do you think forgiveness was the right move, or would you have closed that door and never looked back? Drop your thoughts, your stories. The times you helped someone and paid a price for it, or the times someone helped you when you had nothing to give. Hit, like if you felt something, share this with someone who needs to hear. That kindness still changes outcomes. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because the story I'm telling next starts with a locked gate and a map nobody was supposed to find.